it's Megan and welcome back to my channel. Hey, it's been a minute, but not really. I just haven't posted in maybe like 2 weeks, mainly because I've just been very tired and daylight savings always just throws off my whole rhythm when it comes to life and like sleeping. So we're back. And I figured I could do maybe like another Sims story because I thought that would be fun. And please ignore my messy bed in the background. It's like Sunday at like 11, and after this I fully intend on getting back in my bed and probably taking a nap. So yeah, don't forget to do all the things, like and subscribe, comment, and let me know how your Sunday is going. And let's get to the video. Alright. Again, I don't put all my stuff out in front of me to make it easier on myself. Today I think we're going to talk about the third generation, I believe, in my little Sims career gameplay-ish. And her name is Sage. She is the daughter of Demi, which was one of Willow's twins, her last two daughters. And we're going to talk about her story. And let me know if you would like to also hear Demi's story. I just haven't told it just because I don't think it was like that exciting. She kind of lived a very quiet, mundane life. But, you know, let me know if you would like to hear it. Okay, so Sage's parents, just for a quick backstory, they lived in Ceylon, a little beachfront shack, you would say. And they lived there all their life, and as they had more children, they just added on, and Sage was the youngest of all of Demi's children. And she was kind of a free spirit. Her mom always told her the importance of being eco-friendly and hard-working. So she really instilled that in all of Sage's life. So once Sage graduated from high school, she wanted to go to college to become a lawyer. As soon as she aged up, she applied to university. But that night, she wanted to go out with some of her family members and some of her friends to the local club. They went out that night, and of course Sage got drunk. And also, I'll put what mods I have in my game down below in the description as well, in case you're curious. So she got drunk, and she somehow wandered into the land grab estate, which is in Oasis Springs, and she was in Newcrest. And that's where she met Malcolm Landgrab, who she knew from high school. And it was very late, and Malcolm was mourning the loss of his parents, who his dad died mysteriously, and his mom died from old age. So he was also very sad and upset, and he was kind of just, you know, stay home by himself in his very big mansion. And Sage somehow, oh my god. Sage somehow, oh my god. That was way too much. So Sage somehow wandered. Obviously she was drunk and just wanted to have a good time. So they ended up, oh my god. They ended up drunk woohooing at his house. Sage ends up leaving in the morning because her dad, whose name is Brian, wanted to introduce her to one of his friend's kids who also just got his own place, and you figure, you know, hey, could get to know him and you guys could, you know, be friends, just so you know someone who doesn't live in Salani. And this guy's name is Jace. Asina? His name is Jace, which is a spellcaster sim that I created. So she meets Jace, and they kind of hit it off. Not really in a romantic way, they just had like a lot in common. So they became good friends very, very quickly. So Sage goes back to her parents' house, and she checks the mail. She finds a letter in the mail that's addressed to her, and it's from the university administration office, and she got into college. And her parents were very proud of her, and they were going to help her like in any way they can because they were very, very wealthy. So after she finds out, you know, she tells her parents. She's very excited. And then she starts feeling a little weird. And she also hasn't not gotten her period in the last few days. So she takes a pregnancy test, and it turns out she's pregnant with Malcolm Landgrab's baby, which she was not too thrilled about because she barely knows him, and she was excited about going off to college. So she tells him, and obviously he's very wealthy. He just lost his parents. So he tells her, look, I just lost my parents, so I'm more than happy in, you know, being there for you since I now have a new family member. So she moves, so she tells her parents, and they're not exactly thrilled, but they are happy that she's gonna have help, and they help her get a house in Oasis Springs so she can like be near Malcolm and everything, and just to help her pay for rent and like the renovations and everything. Jace also moves in with her. Now here's the thing about Jace. He does secretly really like our girl Sage, and he does help her throughout her pregnancy with anything she needs. And he feels like Malcolm is not really there for her because he doesn't check on her enough because he's an evil vegan. So whenever Malcolm would actually come over, he would basically have a really bad attitude and would be really mean to him and all that stuff. So eventually baby Stefan is born, and he's a beautiful, healthy baby, and Sage is very happy. And Jace is also enjoying helping her with, you know, becoming a mom and everything. So Malcolm comes over to meet his son, and obviously Jace is very rude to him, and he doesn't like that, you know, Malcolm's even in the picture. They have a huge fight, and Malcolm storms off. And Sage is just like, I wish you guys could, you know, be nice to each other. He's the father of my soul. Sage and Malcolm go to dinner to try and like mend things and just like apologize for Jace. He's like, I really don't like that guy. I don't want him around my kid. So can we just, you know, let's move in together. Let's see if we can make this work, you know? I want to try and be a family. So Sage moves in with Malcolm and leaves the house to Jace. And she decides to, you know, try and make things work, since that's a father. So, but he's going to be supportive in whatever she wants to do. So she moves out of her desert home, and life with Malcolm isn't the best. They don't really have, and she's kind of like regretting going to go live with him, but she's trying for her son. Okay, so she goes to see Jace at the old house, and she kind of tells him like, hey, life isn't that great with Malcolm like I thought it would be. So I thought, I don't know, she just needed someone to, you know, just gonna steer into the skid. So Jace gets this idea, like, hey, Malcolm is very, very wealthy. So, since you are, and Sage and Malcolm have, like, somewhat gotten engaged by this point. So Jace is like, hey, since you're his fiance, and if anything happened to him, you would basically get the whole land grab estate. Maybe something mysterious will happen to him, and then we can maybe get the money. Okay, also a little bit more backstory. Not really backstory. This was in the story and I kind of forgot while telling the story. So while Sage is living at the land grab estate, her and Jace have started canoodling on the side. So they somewhat have started an affair, because Jace did get close to her son. So he was visiting just so he could, like, you know, still see the baby, and that is also her friend at the end of the day. And while they were living together, they definitely started having, you know, feelings for each other. So basically, they started an affair while she was living there. And now, Jace has concocted this little plan to murder Malcolm and take the land grab fortune and the mansion, so him and Sage can live there together. Scandalous. So Sage reluctantly agrees, but she doesn't really want to be involved. You know, she doesn't want to get her hands dirty, you know. There's so much glitter on my face. So he's like, no problem, I'll take care of everything. So Sage goes to visit her mom, Demi, in Solani, and Malcolm is at home by himself. So that's when Jace decides to pay Malcolm a little visit, and he decides he's going to make it look like an accident and just, you know, set the house on fire. So like I said, the land grabs lived in the desert, but they did have, like, outdoor fireplaces. So Jace figured he could maybe, like, set one of the fireplaces on fire, because he is a spellcaster, and that way he could make it look like an accident. So he goes to land grab estate. Unsuspecting Malcolm is sleeping in a room. So instead of, like, setting one of the fireplaces on fire, he sees Malcolm just sleeping in one of the rooms. So he decides to set one of the plants on fire, because he is a spellcaster. And he locks the room and just waits for him to burn to death. But what Jace didn't suspect is that obviously the land grabs care about their house, so they have a fire system. And as soon as something gets set on fire, the fire department will come. And to kind of thwart this, Jace disables the fire system, so the fire department won't come. So, let's see if I can get this glitter off my face. Tries to get out of there, so he like won't be suspected. So he kind of like just runs like across the street. So he kind of like runs across the street in the hopes of not being suspected. Okay, fine. There's just gonna be glitter on my face. Okay, so Jace watches as Malcolm burns to death. And eventually, obviously, he does. And Sage is notified, and also, never mind. Sage is notified that Malcolm has perished in a house fire, and she's obviously somewhat devastated. But she also knew this was going to happen. So, she inherits the house, but it is badly burned. So she does end up just selling the house and everything in it, so she could build her own house in a different neighborhood. And that's when her and Jace decide to get together and try and be a family. And when they live in their new modern desert mansion, they do have a son. They do have a son named Kai, who is also a spellcaster. I think we're going to do these. They have their son Kai. And Jace also adopts Stefan as his own son. And, you know, and even though Sage did want to go to college, she ultimately decides to just go ahead and get into her career path and just move up the ladder instead of going to school, because she did have children to provide for. Alright, we're back. The lashes are on. They're very long and soft and pretty, but they are so long. And I also gave myself some like glitter freckles, if you can see, just so the glitter on my face looks a little more intentional. And eventually, the marriage becomes very rocky. Well, actually, no, they weren't married. The relationship becomes very rocky. So, Sage is working a lot because, you know, she has a certain dream that she wants to achieve. Jace becomes a little annoyed because the romance in their relationship has like somewhat fizzled out. So he voices this, and they decide to take a little vacation, have the kids go to their grandparents' house, and they're gonna have a little, you know, they're gonna have a little vacation to themselves and, you know, reconnect and everything. But instead of them reconnecting, they actually end up fighting the entire time. Jay starts saying some mean things to our girl. It's very, very bad. So, once they get back from their vacation and the kids return, she starts to reevaluate their relationship. She's trying to decide if she really wants to be with Jace. And so, after a few days of them not really speaking and kind of just, you know, co-parenting, she decides to break things off because she doesn't see the relationship going in a positive direction. So she breaks up with him. He's very, very upset and decides to take their son with with him because in his logic, he's a spellcaster. He needs to be with his father. So Sage is left with just Stefan, and so Sage is just left with her son Stefan, and she's very sad and depressed, and she kind of secludes herself in her house for a while. But yeah, that's kind of like part 1 of Sage's little story. Definitely way more happened because her lifespan is on long. Let me know if you want to hear what else has happened in her life so far, because it definitely gets very, very interesting. Okay, and also here's the look. It's very, very cute. Definitely goes with my hair. I really like it. I think I'm also going to put some lip gloss on. This is the Fenty Beauty lip gloss in hot chocolate. Just a little bit. Cute. Alright, so let me know if you want to hear more of Sage's story. Definitely a lot more has happened. And definitely currently in my gameplay, she is still alive. She's like 10 days from becoming an elder, which is why. Okay, so I'm currently editing this right now. And Sage is already an elder, and I hate it. Alright, so thanks for listening to the story. Let me know if you want a part 2. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy your weekend or whatever day it is that you're listening to this. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.